All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome today. I'm here with my dear friend, Brady Heath. Brady is a health coach and founder of Boundless Wellbeing. He's also been a longtime brother in our men's circle, Brothers of the Ever Innocent Heart, and really happy to have him on today. Brady carries a deep well of wisdom within him and excited to explore that with everybody. So, Brady, welcome to the show.
What's up? What's up? Thank you for having me. Good to see you.
Yeah, Yeah, you too, bro. Great to be here with you. I wanted to just start by diving straight in and asking what is most alive in your current spiritual process? What's the kind of cutting edge of your current investigation or exploration into the nature of experience, the nature of reality, divinity?
Hmm. I'd say something that's been common throughout my process and is still very alive at this moment is a certain level of mindfulness, exploration around meditation, mindfulness, the application of mindfulness beyond just a seated meditation experience and the application of I'm saying mindfulness in this moment, but really you can use various synonyms to connect with mindfulness in the way that I'm now like understanding it, how it's rippling into and connecting into various other traditions through my studies. So, but John Kabat-Zinn, a pioneer in the field of mindfulness research and his stress reduction program kind of fascinated me because as a health coach, um, I'm working with individuals who, are living within the modern day machine, and so trying to make things as practical as I can for people who are very much more mainstream. And yeah, it's interesting as I'm talking about it, like hearing, I didn't put those two together, but I did understand like that there's a language, there has to be a common language, well, it's helpful. It doesn't have to be. If someone's open, then um, we can explore. But usually the conversations are 20 minutes or so, and so that's like a practical area of exploration that I've been getting into, and really appreciate John's work. Um, Also been diving into Peter Brown's work at a deeper rate. Um, John Aston, who you introduced me to, and yeah, that's very much connected with John Kabat-Zinn's work as well. As I said, synonyms with mindfulness are presence or awareness, radiant presence. Um, and these are just very common presence, in particular, awareness, mindfulness. These are very common terms that I think a lot of people can connect with. And ultimately, just trying, I guess there's a part of me that's trying, that appears to be trying to get out of my own way, to show up um, as fully as I can on a daily basis and live from this heartfulness, this place of just heartfelt commitment, poise, breath, presence, and just listening and allowing life to guide and direct me. It's really an intuitive, become a much more intuitive process for me. Um, and I think it is possible to like put words to it, but I think ultimately I can direct people that the more intimate you become with just experience itself, that the living, breathing, animating intelligence that's moving through you, that is the doorway into what I'm speaking to, into what is beyond the mind and what you can receive. And I say receive, but it's just a movement that I am one with, and I am being moved by. And yeah, that's really what is alive for me. And so basking in that and bringing myself back to that when it appears, there is this seeming like that I leave presence or something, but I'm learning more and more fully that it's just all a texture of the same isness. And yeah, it's been very liberating, very freeing. um I notice that it's impacting my relationships on a much deeper level as well. In terms of the level of intimacy I can experience with someone, not as much mental activity. So as a health coach, that's really positive and wonderful thing, because I'm having upwards of 8 to 15 conversations with people on a daily basis every week, and the level of presence that I want to bring to these conversations in order for them to actually also contribute to my life in a meaningful way, and for it to contribute to their life in a meaningful way. I don't just want to go through the motions. And yeah, I can't imagine just being on autopilot. I think, I imagine some coaches do just kind of go through the motions, but um, yeah, thank God for this work that I've been exposed to, because it's given me tools, and it's given me ways into experiencing. Um, and this is maybe a fascinating topic. I'm sure I'll say a little bit on this topic of like how we get bored with our lives, and how if we're doing the same thing time and time again, day after day after day, the same thing, we the mind may put a spin on it in such a way that, oh, my life sucks, I'm just doing the same things over and over again. And um, like, sure, that may be the case. There may be certain things that you're repeating, like I'm saying a specific, yeah, welcome to chair care, blah 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 blah, and like speaking the giving the initial intro, and then signing out with the same outro, um, branding statements, talking about the same topics over and over and over. Weight loss, such a common topic. Exercise, just walking. Just let's just get into some walking. Such a common topic that I'm having with people. But every experience is actually and can be totally fresh and new, and is totally fresh and new. It's truly never the same unless I start spinning that story. And even then, it's not the same, but it appears that way. And I've been hoodwinked by how I'm spinning the story. And if I notice I'm spinning that story and I question it, immediately I can notice a completely new, fresh quality, or, just texture or lighting or the voice or the energy that's coming through from the person, the light coming into the room. So I'm sure you can relate a lot with this, as I know this connects to a lot of what you've spoken about, what you read about, just like, the nature of experience. And but that's been something I've been playing with a lot, and I think is really valuable for this, just other people who may watch this, to be able to take off those those glasses and actually see more of reality for what it is and what's actually happening within their direct experience, beyond some humdrum comparison of what my life should be or what it's not, or like, um yeah, that's really meaningful. So I'll pause there, and that's really, those are really some of the most common and alive themes moving through me at this time.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for sharing, brother. I really like that last part where you spoke about the freshness and the newness, because I think the words mindfulness and presence, though they're common words, I think I think they can feel a bit dry to some people, or like people, I feel like we need to find a way to give people a way into what those words are referring to, because it's kind of like, oh, mindfulness, I guess I'll just pay attention to what's going on around me, but that's where I love the yoga of radiant presence and John Aston's teachings, because they provide a way in to presence that, like, they provide access points that reveal that this is totally new right now, that this is totally fresh, that this moment's never been seen before, that I've never been with you in this way, that I've never experienced the same person twice, in a sense. We're continually changing, we're continually shifting. The moment's ever new, and the moment is so vivid, it's so rich, it's so full. It's this immersive, hyper tapestry and full contact sport, and we are that tapestry. We're not at all apart from that. So we're just in this miraculous self-dancing fullness. And yeah, there's many different ways and techniques and access points that we can use to kind of start to chop away at all those layers of ideas and beliefs that make us feel like, oh yeah, I know what this is. This is just my same old humdrum life. But really, what is it? Where are you? What are you doing? If we can wake up to that freshness, it can really be life changing. So I'm glad you touched on that. And yeah, if there's anything more you want to share about that that can help us bridge that and go even more intimate with what you're speaking to, that'd be great.
Yeah, something did come up. Yeah, I'm all about, and I didn't add this layer to it, but I'm all about, I guess I did in a tiny way. I said the word practical, that the practicality, the pragmatic application of what we're talking about is super important to me. And as you said, like, when you start to dabble, when you start to explore certain concepts like non-duality, um, and spirituality and mindfulness, they these words, yeah, they come with certain assumptions that we may have, and yeah, that's our starting point. So we don't have much of a choice around like where we start with those things. But I have been very, very curious around, and I guess this has just kind of unfolded naturally. I've become more curious around the actual practicalities of the yoga of radiant presence and non-duality, um, for the sake of like living a life that is rich. Uh, it comes from this place of wholeness, and it comes from this place of not getting sucked into the mainstream narrative, which encourages you to. All right, let me be careful around how I use my words. It's just placing a certain level of importance on things, and that comes with certain implications for the individual being raised in that culture, right? Like what you begin to think is important and what you should be pursuing, and how you should be living your life. And it's soul sucking on some level to get sucked into that machine and be disconnected from your true self. And so the yoga of radiant presence, what it's revealing to me is how it's essentially a direct entry point into my soul, into my heart, into a place of communion where I can step out of the matrix. I can really be with myself, and I can ask myself the important questions of, after I've really just began to feel into the richness, the fullness of who I am, of what life is, this never ending waterfall of I use this word lightly, of just blissful energy. I say blissful, meaning that the way you relate with the energy itself, like how you're relating to it, is what makes it blissful. It's not like the experience itself is like all positive. It's like all only pleasurable. It's blissful in the sense that the mind, when there's not like a label being placed on something and there's total curiosity, it's weird. It's very hard to use the linguistics. I'm trying to use linguistics to kind of like express, but I feel like this is useful because like wholeness and this kind of radiant blissfulness of experience that just keeps washing over you, and as we've said, that total fresh, new and raw direct experience that you're having. It kind of, I see it as like the ultimate reset button. If you are relating to reality from this place of holy curiosity, of of devotion, of appreciation, and that's when I really connect with myself. And then, as an amazing teacher of mine once said, some people may know of him. I'll point to John Demartini's work here. He talks about how the quality of your life is dependent upon the quality of the questions you ask. So it's like the moment I reset, then I can actually get to the heart of me. I'm out of like just getting sucked into interpretations and judgments and comparisons. And I can now start asking the valid, important questions that will naturally lead to me leading a life that's meaningful to me, which is, what's important to me? What's alive for me? What do I want to create? What would I love to do right now? What you can just play. You can just like get really good at asking yourself quality questions. And I say quality questions meaning like quality like questions that are life promoting for you, that help you connect with life, that are empowering, that are encouraging of belief and possibility for you and what only you can do, and with only who you get to be, with your unique gifts and your unique skills and your unique talents. When we connect with that, I mean, that's when the intelligence just guides you and can um, and of course I say all of this and you're now coming from wholeness. So it doesn't matter what you do, you're doing what you're doing and you feel that you've already crossed the finish line, that you feel that you've already won. And so like there's no pressure, there's no suffering, and there's not this sense that I have to do this. Um, like maybe that arises every now and then, but I notice it falls away much quicker. And this is the way I'm explaining this is a great way to actively relate with reality consciously in a way so that those things can fall away and so that the emergence of what I'm speaking about can just it'll naturally happen. So when this emerges, that will just fall away. It can't, it holds no power in comparison to kind of that process that I just laid out, which is become present, curious, feel fully, just become really curious about your direct experience, like go into these experiences that you're having, not conceptually, but then, as you're really in the feelingness, the sensory aspect of it, you can witness like, oh shit, life is it's lighter. It's the moment's fresher. Uh, Things are much more vivid and like I'm seeing so much more that I wasn't. And I say seeing, I mean seeing with your awareness, as in also feeling, noticing, experiencing. And then from there, yeah, you can, of course, if you wanted to, because you get to decide what game you want to play in life. And so that then you can ask meaningful quality questions and um, play around and see what wants to come through you. It's one of the most meaningful things from my perspective is participating in that creative dance, because choice is creative, right? So you're creating your life through your choices, the thoughts you choose, the stories you choose to tell, and the actions you choose to take. What do you want to create? What would you love to create in your life? And that's where the magic, I think, really gets to. Well, that's where more magic gets to emerge. I was going to say that's where the magic starts to emerge, but the magic is already here, right? So it's just more magic you get to witness and participate in.
Mm. Yeah, beautifully said, my friend. Yeah, we've mentioned the yoga of radiant presence a couple times, and just to clarify that, if people haven't heard of it, it's Peter Brown's teaching and kind of playful practice, which you described really well as this like total curiosity about the now, especially beyond any labels, beyond any concepts, beyond any definitions, essentially dropping all definitions and descriptions, returning to beginner mind, child mind, infant mind as much as possible, I would say, really like forgetting everything you know in a sense and just coming into sheer fullness, sheer radiant nowness, kaleidoscopic nowness, and just letting yourself feel that in a full body, full sensory, omni textural way. It has this way of just dissolving inaccurate perceptions that had kind of clouded our awareness. You gradually start to discover that every belief you have is inaccurate in a deep sense because beliefs are just too small of a container to be able to contain this infinity, this, as you say, this magical infinity that is here now. It's quite miraculous. How is this appearing? How is it here? So essentially, your beliefs, which are more than just a mind pattern, they're also deeply encrusted in the body and imprinted and internalized in the body as a kind of energetic exoskeleton that most of us are walking around with. These kind of like rigid people are very, locked in. A lot of people can't are deeply afraid to even dance or sing or move in any kind of way that's outside of, this deep sense of I need to continually look in the way that people told me I should look. And so the yoga of radiant presence gradually dissolves those types of deeply imprinted kind of snake skins and belief systems that are inaccurate. It's not to say that they have no value, maps and models and belief systems and stories, they're all part of the human experience. I'm not trying to negate those. And yet there's a freedom that's available always and right now beyond belief systems and beyond identities. And it just when you start to get a taste of that, a glimpse of that, it feels like coming home. You don't have to turn it into a new belief system or dogma. Just experientially, it feels like coming home. It feels so incredibly simple. It feels so incredibly clear. It's like, oh, wow, this wholeness has always been here. Like you say, it feels like your birthright is just, it's already done. Wholeness is what I am. I like everything I need is right here in a deep sense. And this is all profoundly simple in a certain sense. That the now is all that I ever come in contact with, and now is already done in a profound sense. So there could be a sense that the now is doing itself. And those are some of the discoveries that the yoga of radiant presence leads to. And I like how you explored that as just one of the deepest resets, just a way to really deeply reset in daily life. And then, yeah, ask yourself very deep questions. I think that's a great idea to come into that space of the kind of blank slate of pure nowness, and then drop in those very profound questions like what is truly important to me, or like what is truly wanting to be born through me, like what's knocking on my window, what has an intelligence beyond me been trying to, you know, birth through me, or get my attention with. And it's beautiful to then create things more from that space of wholeness, as you say, where you're not creating from a sense of lack, or like, oh, I need to get something from this, or I need to build my legacy so that I can be enough or be successful. But more and more you're able to settle into, I am whole. This is wholeness. And there's a natural calling arising here that is inviting me to be a vessel, to be a conduit, and to give it back. Like there's this Mac Miller lyric where he says, Yahweh put the world in my hands, I'm giving it back. So when you discover that jewel we've all been given of this now moment, and you realize the true preciousness of that, and you're able to receive that in your heart and feel that immeasurable gift, there's a natural like invitation and an opening to give it back. I would say it's like a natural kind of completion of the movement. It's like you've received it in your heart, and it if your heart has been opened to that ever-present generosity, you naturally want to give it back in whatever way is native to you. So yeah, that came up for me. You want to riff on that?
Yeah, something that came up specifically has to do with like I would say a stumbling block that I experienced through through my own process and the exploration of radiant presence and um yeah, I mean it was just essentially a confusion really. I mean there is a grappling with the way that we think things are and these new perspectives that we're taking on and I don't personally want to like lead anyone on and say that yeah you step into this and like you're just always like I would say that there is this like more and more and more prominent like revelation of wholeness like permeating my present moment experience more and more fully and just completely for for periods of time, you know, because there is this also there's also the reality that um, all perspectives are held, you know, within this that we're talking about, and I think it's like um, yeah, it's important to also like open yourself to because when I describe wholeness and blissfulness, as I alluded to a little bit, um, that doesn't necessarily mean there's not pain or suffering emerging in my experience, but there's a new container that can hold it, and I don't want to give the impression that you start exploring, you know, these things and it's somehow meant to get rid of those experiences because I'm under the conviction at this point, you know, or under the impression, if you will, whatever word fits best there, that pain and challenge are not going anywhere. They're part of the human experience and they're needed. They're a necessity. And we're here to step up to the plate in this experience and to shift our relationship to pain and challenge that arises and that we get to do that we get to um, reorient the way that we look at pain and challenge in our lives, not as something that's happening to us, but as probably a lot of your listeners align with, is something that's happening for us, and it's helping us evolve, and it's supporting our growth, and so yeah, for me, this whole uh, non-duality and because you know radiant presence is a non-dual teaching essentially, and I'm not always living there. I am, but I'm not as well. Like I'm not always living in that space where like I'm investigating the textures of reality. It's just an amazing tool to have in my tool belt. And I also like just wanted to speak on the importance, the necessity of um, how we relate with the human mythos, our personal journey as well, and um, how shifting our relationship to pain and challenge, seeing it as initiations, seeing it as invitations by life, um, rather than something that's happening to you, and playing the victim, but understanding that whatever is going on, there's something to learn. There's something that you can benefit. There's something that further supports you fulfilling your higher purpose, your highest purpose in life. And it's up to us to tap into that by engaging with that experience in a meaningful way, asking, what is the benefit here? How does this contribute to what's important to me? How does this help me evolve? And we get back to, right, asking quality questions. And um, yeah, I would say that for me, there's still kind of this perceived um, I don't fully
Dichotomy.
get. Yeah, yeah, I would say dichotomy. I don't fully get how I don't know if these teachers they don't speak to it very often. John Aston, I don't know him very well. Peter Brown, in the context that we're speaking with them, I don't know what they're like outside of that. They don't necessarily speak to, like, okay, like, how do you live? How, what is your what is your state of being like from moment to moment to moment in your life? Like, are you speaking to this as a, like, as a permanent realization, and this is just how you're interacting with life? I get the sense that it's not. I get the sense that they're offering it as a tool, as a direct experience, not as like a final destination that you walk in. Um, but even as I said, when I'm not in that, I'm still in that. So
Yeah.
that's where I can see how, yes, you are in a sense always. You can see that you are always living in that, even if you seemingly step out of it and play a slightly different tune of your instrument, through the identity that you're taking on, or the role that you're taking on in a certain moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful reflections. Would just jump in on that and say that I feel like there is a dawning recognition over time that you have never stepped out of presence, that you can't. There is an inescapability of presence, and no matter what tune of the instrument is playing, it's taking place in and as this presence, you know? So that's in that, and I feel like that's what they're pointing at. They're pointing at something that's beyond a particular state, like whether or not you're in a state of tuning in with that or investigating that, the presence is still there. It's still fully shining. It is the light that your experience is made of, at all times, whether you're noticing it or not. And there is, I feel, over time, an increasing collapse of the sense of dichotomy where it feels like the moments of noticing, the times where you do notice it more deeply, Peter would always say, those are cumulative over time. They accumulate within you and they gradually bring about a shift of your kind of center of gravity as a being, where you just become more and more kind of rooted in this knowingness that this is always it, no matter what it's looking like, no matter whether it seems distracted or it's focusing on an identity or it's picking its nose. It's full blast presence at all times. It's already shining, and You don't have to put it in a belief. You just look at your experience and see, yep, still presence. Here it is. It's just at any moment, if you check it out, that's all it is. And so, you
Yeah,
know, that kind of emerges, I would say, as like this knowingness that increasingly is like always there in the background on some level. And it like I would say it's probably different for each person. Each person probably finds their own natural kind of center of gravity amidst the many modes of what this presence can look like. But I think the more that you do spend time with the raw, naked, boundaryless, immediate intimacy with the presence, that tends to, there tends to be this deepening kind of knowingness that's just on some level there at all times, even if it kind of goes to the background, just this knowingness that this is it, this is wholeness now. There is no dichotomy. Anything that's showing up is nothing other than presence, whatever presence is, right? So we could say the word presence, that doesn't mean we've actually pinned down what this is. So in that sense, there is a certain, I would say, a certain
banality.
finality to this pointing out, because as far as I can tell, there is no way within the sacramental human journey to step outside of present
Right.
experience. Present experience is where everything takes place, whether we're noticing that or not. And that's all that's really being pointed out, which sounds simple, but actually, if you really deeply notice that, it gets incredibly trippy and incredibly profound. And like you say, everything is included in that. Just one last quick thought is like I like the exploration of suffering and versus bliss. And yeah, like Peter would always say, this can look like anything. It can look like painful textures. It can look like heavy, coagulated, gloppy, swampy magma textures moving through. But there is a different way of relating to that, where when you start to become intimate with this nowness as this kind of vibratory field of pure sensation, and you get really curious, suddenly you notice, oh, I've never experienced this emotion before. I've never experienced this sensation before. And that's always true. Every moment is a new sensation, a new experience. And when approached through that nakedness, even painful or heavy textures can open into a very fascinating vibratory sensation, which can even have a certain odd bliss to it, even things that we might think of normally as painful. So I think that's what you were pointing at earlier. And I love that you also noted, like, hey, let's not, you know, let's not pretend that we don't feel pain sometimes or that this isn't hard sometimes. I totally agree. The human journey is hard at times, but it's profound to learn new ways of relating to that texture,
Yeah.
to those clouds that pass in front of the sun, you know.
Mm.
So,
I think that's the most important thing, truly, is that there is just a willingness, a willingness to continue to engage with life, to like meet life as it is, to continue to ask questions, to continue to be curious so that it can reveal more of itself to you. And because if you're not doing that, then you're just living in this incessant state of thinking you know what things are, and thinking you know how things should be, and um, thinking like what. Yeah, there's just so many assumptions, and that's, I think, ultimately what leads to just, and I'm really talking about, more on the mental, emotional, spiritual side of suffering. That's what really perpetuates, illness and chronic disease, and these these ailments where, in the United States, like 90% of the population or more are have chronic illness, or are metabolically unhealthy. These like drastic numbers that um, it is the way it is, but I think that there's an incredible connection to what we're talking about and the way that we're taught to engage with reality, and how shifting our relationship with the way that we engage with reality can be so empowering. And um, I mean, there's so much to that as well, but I think at the crux of it is changing how you relate to your experience, changing how you relate to to your thoughts, changing how you relate to your emotions, and that buzzword curiosity, that's like what I've noticed to be just like a common denominator in what is allowed. It orients you into greater possibility for your life if there is no curiosity. And I like how I've heard it. It's not just curiosity; it's holy curiosity. It's you orienting. It's you understanding that there's a mystery here, a mystery to life and intelligence. I mean, you can just sense and you can tune in with, like, just really take a moment to witness what's truly happening, all of what's happening, like to the furthest expanses of the universe, to the tiniest microscopic units of reality. How can all of this be happening the way it is, taking care of itself? That immediately, like, presents the mystery to you in an incredible way. And you can see that that's not like a scary thing because it's clearly doing an incredible job. Like, so, like, that, once you can, that's why I like to call it holy curiosity. It's not just a mental curiosity, like a mundane, like, oh, I have to just like ask questions. No, you orient yourself. You can feel the mystery. You can feel the miraculous nature that life is. And anytime you become curious in life, you're really becoming curious to that mystery, and that mystery will I say it will call you, it will guide you, it will lead you into greater possibilities and potential for your life. You get to awaken to greater possibilities for your life, and therefore play an active role in creating more of the life that you love. And that really means to me is also loving more of the life that you have. That's creating more of the life that you love, is loving more of the life that you have.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, the yesterday I was giving a presentation where I shared that the lead is already the gold. There's this kind of idea in ancient alchemy of transmuting the lead into gold and kind of our experience, our life, ourselves. But if we can start to see that the lead of mundane everyday experience is already the gold of this shining forth of brilliance and wonder and poetry and magic and miraculousness, and we can appreciate that, then we completely transform our life by just noticing what was already there, what was already right in front of us. And I feel like that is, to me, the purest and deepest form of magic and prayer. And it's where magic, prayer, meditation, contemplation, they all fuse together into just clarity here now, that this is precious and this is shining and this is wondrous. And yeah, so
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that. And I also wanted to ask you, at some point you mentioned God and you mentioned the heart, like thank you God, and talking about coming from the heart. I'm curious, what does the word God mean for you, and how does that connect to the heart?
Oh boy. What's coming up right off the bat without like me like doing too much digging because I could really go in a million directions. So I'll just pick the one that's like most alive. God. I like this acronym, the Grand Organizing Designer. That one really resonates with me. Um, and I will go ahead and say I don't know what God is, first and foremost. I don't fucking know, dude. Um, but, and when I even ask that question, I feel like I'm immediately oriented with one of the most like important. I just immediately come into contact with one of the most important like experiences I could have as a human being. Like even just asking the question without even answering it, without even having an answer, I just immediately like, okay, what is God? But okay, so if I were to answer it, um, I really resonate with that acronym, the Grand Organized Designer, the Grand Organized Design, and yeah, God is love. God has revealed itself, herself, himself, uh, revealed to me this unconditional love, this grace, this this mercy, this compassion. I mean, there are so many. I would say God has different characteristics and attributes that arise um, within my spirit and have arisen and that I've encountered within myself or within relationship with others. And something just tells me like that had to be God. Like the experience itself, it was just one of like um, how you would define those words. Like I would have done something and then, but then someone just gave me like, chose to love me for who I am and like give, uh, just give me an opportunity that I couldn't have anticipated. Um, why does that happen? I can't explain it, but I can't even explain why I was able to pick it up, why I was able to tune in with it. But I feel that that's where we get into the mystery of God and the soul and how um, we can essentially begin to attune with these characteristics and attributes of spirit within our own soul because our own soul has resonance with God and is one with God. And ultimately, the pinnacle, unconditional loving grace, that's really what God is to me. And um, I've been so blessed to encounter that on so many occasions and learned, to embody that and share that and be that. And I think you asked a second part of the question, right? Oh, you asked about God and you asked about the heart, right? What was the question about the heart?
Yeah, just how does that connect to the heart?
Yeah, for me, like, yeah, I've been guided and pointed, like, and told like that's what the heart represents. The heart, the symbol of the heart is this. So there is a component of like, I think there's just a universal understanding um, on an intellectual level that has been passed down. But then there's the actual experiential understanding. And when I am connect with my heart, the actual energy of the heart, not the physical heart, but like the energetic magnetism of the heart, you tune in with the heart, and it's just this profound power. I can feel these qualities, these characteristics and attributes of God just emanating from my heart. I can feel it. I can just feel that that's where the energy is emerging from. It's not something I can totally describe why, but I can sense that it is emanating from that place within me, within my experience. And obviously, we all come from our own backgrounds, and um, some of us will dabble with more than one spiritual tradition and explore. And I was brought up in the church and got baptized. Um, it's cool because our friend Mike actually baptized me the second time before I went to grad school at Lewisburg United Methodist Church. Um, After I had essentially declared, I was struggling immensely with drug addiction for a long time, and um, me going to grad school really was me stepping stepping into greater responsibility and greater um, manhood, being initiated into manhood on a greater level because of the level of first of all the level of academia and grad school, the level of responsibility. I was by myself, going to a completely new place, and yeah, that just happened to be the time period where I was after undergrad. I went to Lewisburg, North Carolina, where our friend Mike was the preacher, and I was still struggling with drugs here and there, but I was at the tail end of really like just being fed up, like understanding that this was connected to my belief in myself and my belief in my connection with God, my relationship with something greater than myself. I could see how the addictive tendencies, um, how there's a connection that I was seeking. I think that I was seeking to be filled by that experience, but it was leaving me so empty. I was seeking, the most heightened experiences I could obtain, and in the way that I knew how to obtain to experience that or obtain that. And as I grew in my spiritual life, I started to recognize the more and more the power of the traditional story of Jesus Christ and who he meant for the world, and what he represented on the cross, what his life represented. And so, yeah, I gave my life to Jesus Christ um, many times, but that was like a pinnacle moment where I like got really officially baptized again. Because when I did it when I was younger, I didn't really know what I was doing. This was really like a conscious choice. Like I understand what I'm doing, who I am in Christ. Um, I wouldn't call myself a Christian necessarily, but I also do. I identify with with certain Christian, um, I would say, the language of Christianity. It resonates with me. Some of it, as I mentioned, mercy and um, the love of God, unconditional love of God. Um, so yeah, I said all of that because that was a significant heart-opening period of time in my life, and it was deeply connected to um, my time in the church in Lewisburg, and deeply connected to the Christian faith, um, and Jesus Christ, embodied this heartfulness, this devotion to God, this commitment to humanity, this commitment to serve, this commitment to share and give love, and to be love. And I resonate deeply with that, with those aspects of the story of Jesus. And then, of course, I expanded my understanding of Jesus Christ and Christ consciousness as I continued down my journey, because I was, more interested in, I didn't want to be told what to believe. I was really curious and wanted to make the decision on my own and deduce, and feel into things myself, and figure out what really resonated with me. And so I studied uh, Paramahansa Yogananda quite a bit, and of course he connects with the lineage of Jesus Christ as well. That was really eye-opening to understand. Once again, awareness, mindfulness, the the um, radiant presence, and Christ consciousness. There are all these like synonyms, but they have different practical use because of the symbolism and the meaning that we can give to these words through our experience. And so I'm super grateful that I, explored and dabbled in various spiritual traditions, because it equipped me with different tools and ways of relating with reality, the intelligence of life, and with God in a much more holistic way. And therefore, I think that has enriched my relationship with God on such an incredible level, compared to if I was just singularly like identified with the Christian faith. And that's not to say anything negative to anyone else where that is their walk of life. Um, I haven't had the experience where many Christians are tapping into the degree, or are tapping into an unconditional love in relationship when people have differing beliefs and differing opinions. I haven't found many, I haven't had many experiences where they see the validity in different spiritual traditions and stuff. So to me, that just shows me that that's there appears to be something incomplete in in the way, in the utility that ideology is being embodied. And um, it's all stages of consciousness as well. I mean, we are where we are, and once again, I'm not enlightened. I'm not like completely like, um I have my flaws, I have my idiosyncrasies. I'm just like them. I judge people in different contexts too. But yeah, it's interesting. I had to take a step back and see that while what I'm saying is true, I feel that I'm also not beyond that in my own way, in different forms in my own life of thinking that no, this is the right way, this is the way it should be done. Um, so wanted to catch that kind of just off the cuff, and I'll stop myself there because yeah, that kind of encapsulates the connection to the heart, I would say, on a deep level to me, and some of my background that's connected to that.
Hmm. Yeah, thanks for sharing all that, brother. Really good to bring in more of your story and feel that. And I noticed and found it interesting that when you tuned into the word God, your hand went to your heart and there was clear emotion that came to your face, you know. And that's something that's interesting for me to notice because as much as, you know, people like you and I, we love a practice like the yoga of radiant presence. I I've never really seen somebody be like, ah, yoga of radiant presence, what does that mean to me? And like their hand goes to their heart and they start like clearly showing signs of emotionality, you know? It's like it's a very different it's a very different way of engaging with infinity, with, you know, with whatever this is. And so it's I feel like different words and different approaches evoke very different qualities of, you know, this presence, this infinity. Yoga of radiant presence focuses a lot on the vividness, the lusciousness, the freshness, the juiciness, the nowness in a way that's very like miraculous and astonishing and brings you into the now and is like uplifting and rejuvenating. And it's less about the devotion, the grace, the love. I mean, maybe for some people it goes there, but I would say in Peter's expression of it and in the general way that it seems to be explored, it doesn't go seem to go as strongly in that direction. Whereas the Christ focused lineages and the God focused lineages, they tend to have at least very strong devotional currents within them, more like, you know, bhakti, to use a yogic term, bhakti meaning devotional type of lineages. And I think you and I have both been deeply impacted by experiences of devotion and surrender to God. And there's something about when you have a term like God or Christ, or, you know, for other people, there's probably other terms like Great Mother or Goddess or Brahman or whatever it is. But if you have a term that directs your attention toward the innermost heart, you could say, of whatever this is. That's kind of what it feels like to me. It feels like some of those words create almost like a concentrated focal point for certain of the innermost qualities of whatever this is. And when you direct attention to that focal point, it's like a portal that opens some of these inmost qualities. Like it's almost like a hidden trap door opens, and like within this infinite presence you go even deeper into kind of like the center of the sun in a way, and you discover this inferno of loving grace that is burning in the heart of this presence here and now. And that's that's where the devotional path and the Christ focused path is so deeply important to me, because that is an access point, similar to how for you just asking the question, you know, what is God, brought you immediately into that devotional heart space. It's similar for me when I tune into God or Christ, most notably Christ for me. That is, but God as well. But Christ is even more like of an access point for whatever reason for me. Christ is even more human in a way. There's like a very sense of a deep sense of a personal relationship with the divine, or a personal friend or savior or emanation of divinity who visits me and who I have contact with. And I don't have to turn that into a belief system. Similar to you, I don't currently feel like I don't feel a need to strongly identify as Christian or turn that into a belief system, but it's a mystery that's incredibly, incredibly important for me. And when I tune into that focal point of Christ, it does open into that center of the sun like inferno of loving grace and devotion that really, when I connect to that, those are the moments where I feel experientially, I feel the closest to the truth of my existence
Mm.
in a way that, again, that I don't need to put into a belief system or I don't need to try to convert people to it. But those are the moments that I just start weeping. And when I start crying and weeping in the presence of what feels like a love completely beyond my understanding, that's when I feel closest to the omnipresent center point of whatever this is personally. So yeah, so I'm glad that we went there and explored that piece because it does feel really important. And I think sometimes I can get really fascinated by yoga of radiant presence type stuff, which is extremely liberating and amazing to explore. I love, sharing that with people, but it also feels like without that deeper current of devotion, love, grace, and heart for me, there would be something kind of almost a little bit like ungrounded or a little too much like in the rainbows about the yoga of radiant presence. And that may just be me as a being that I was raised within, you know, Catholicism and my ancestors are Christian. And that is my, karmic blueprint in a certain sense. I don't know. But also, I do feel like in some more universal sense, there is a way in which whatever this radiance is, this light, it again kind of goes back to that. Like it wants to be given back. It wants to, in a way, feels like it wants to penetrate our hearts and our bodies on the deepest level and crack us open on the deepest level to lived oneness, to living oneness as a reality and feeling how oneness is love. And, what you do to the least among you, this you also do to me. And that, what we do to anyone, we're doing to our own self. Like it feels like this wholeness, this oneness wants to be realized in that way and expressed as love for the healing of the world. And so, it's nice for me to I I enjoy like feeling into those deep feelings and they're a profound part of me. And it's nice to feel like I don't have to turn that into a fixed belief system that's like, this is definitely how it is. And, you need to believe this too. But those feelings, those experiences are so central, so profound for me. So yeah, thanks for speaking to that as well. And it may be about time to draw to a close here. I did want to ask a final question. Is there anything final coming up for you to share and or any final words of wisdom that you'd like to leave our viewers with?
Mm. Yeah, I'm open to leaving them with something, whether it will resonate or not. Obviously, my role as a health coach, um, and also, one of my highest values being um, the transformation of self and other through the means of connecting with health and well-being. It's just something that I've been deeply called to explore and investigate um, in the context of the modern day world. And um, I was thinking about whenever I'm speaking to clients and I'm talking to them about their lives and um, something you said triggered this memory just around how profoundly powerful it is to even just say the word heart in life. And maybe once again you're drawing an important note of like maybe it's personal, but I have gotten the feedback on many occasions, and I notice on these calls when I'll ask the question, um, and people are more in their intellectualizing brain, and like they can't access like what's an area you'd like to grow in, or is there anything that you feel like you could um, improve upon within how you're leading your lifestyle that would be meaningful to you, uh, within a matter of 2 seconds, no, nothing's coming up. It's like without giving it any thought, without giving it taking the time, like, well, like just take a moment, tune in to that within your heart, and see if anything arises. And it's maybe because I asked the question twice, or maybe it's because I directed them into their heart and out of their mind. I don't know exactly, but my intuition tells me that they're operating and relating to life in a different way when they're up in their heads. And when we drop into our hearts, we're gonna orient ourselves in a completely different way and access a much deeper reservoir of this unconditional loving grace that wants to guide, that wants to lead us, that is calling us into greater potential, or to step into our potential, into meaning, into what matters, into what's important, into priority. Not that people aren't focused on their priorities or doing that. It's just um, there's a distinction that I want to make, and it all boils down to the quality of our lives. That's what's important. The quality of our lives from moment to moment to moment to moment to moment, nanosecond to nanosecond, nanosecond to nanosecond. Like that's what I feel like I've really devoted my life to understanding, is like how does one enrich the quality of their life so that they don't miss anything, and so um, that was what came up into my head. I wanted to share that story, and just how profound it is, what an observation that I've noticed in my work, and what happens when we evoke the heart, and I think that we're gonna, when we wake up in the morning, if we can ask ourselves, if we can connect with our hearts, we're going to lead a completely different life that day. We're going to make different choices from our heart. Um, we're going to connect with people differently when we're connecting more with our heart in life. And so, yeah, as it relates to the topic that we just discussed, that was something that came up. And um, yeah, ultimately, I just want to encourage people to continue to believe fully in themselves, to witness and observe any moments when they feel they're unworthy, any moments that they feel they're not good enough, any moments they feel like they have to be someone in life, that they have to like present themselves or achieve something to be worthy. Like any stories like that, I just want to offer the final recognition to you that you are just completely beautiful and whole and amazing and wonderful, and believe in yourself. Understand that you actually helped me see this, Jordan, which is interesting. You were one of the people. I'll never forget how you worded it. It was like, Um, Sing the song that only you can sing. Like do the thing that only you can do. And that's not any particular thing. It's just being you. It's not when you sing that song, it has to sound like this and it has to hit someone's ears with this piercing like incredible melody that melts their heart away and where they give you an applause. It's like, no, you're beautiful. You've got incredible potential. There's so much to explore, and hopefully on today's conversation we've just grounded you back into a beautiful reality that is wanting to emerge and that is here and that is just waiting for you to continue to engage with it more and let your belief in yourself and your relationship with that universal impulse of love that wants to move through you, as you, with you, team up with that. And yeah, you'd just be amazed at what can unfold and what you're going to create and what you're going to do and how you're going to feel doing it all. And it's not all sunshine and daisies, but it can be so much more enriching and meaningful, no matter how painful and challenging times may be as well. So, yeah, thank you, Jordan. Appreciate this time to reflect and have the opportunity to connect with parts of myself in new ways and love you so much.
Mhm. I love you too, brother. If people want to find more of your work, is there anywhere they should look you up or can find you?
Yeah, my maybe we can I can send that to you and you can link it
Hmm. Yeah.
wherever. So I'll just say that you can find me on Instagram, um, Brady Heath Well-being. Just no spaces, no character, no other symbols or anything. And then you haven't emerged a whole lot on social media in a while, but it's definitely things are in the works. But I would point people to there initially if they want to connect, you know.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much again, brother. Love you very much and God bless. Take good care. Thanks again.
Yeah, you too, bro.